D&D number 10, Circle of Life in Jesus' Name, Part 2, Chapter 2. It's September 7th, Saturday morning, Brookside High School, Newport, California. The moment they walked into the gym at Brookside High School, the entire team came running over to see Gabe. They hugged him, took selfies. Gabe smiled and chatted while Taylor went to the locker room. He watched her go. Exactly 2 weeks ago, they were in this same gym, but with 2 bodyguards, and so much has happened since that fateful day. Fateful day, he thought again. It had been a big day. And that's why God had sent signs and visions to Grandmaster Keno, to Jeffy, and himself. Not that he thought of himself in any way like them, though for some reason, God has decided to give some prophetic signs to him. He wasn't worthy, but he would try harder to be worthy. He settled back on the bleachers to watch practice, and then he remembered that last time he'd made a video and decided it would be a good time to do another one. He pulled out his phone and went live. Hey everyone, Gabe Tanner here. It was 2 weeks ago today that I made a video from this high school gym watching Taylor's volleyball practice. And that's what I'm doing again. She's doing great. Hopefully I'll get to see her play. Maybe we'll go live on a few of her games. Let me know if you'd like to see that. Anyway, I just want to say thanks again for all the prayers and well wishes as our families just went through a really hard time. We've been so blessed, and these hard times have made us even stronger in our faith. I admit, I gave in to sorrow and grief over Grandmaster Keno. I wasn't living by my faith. I've learned so much. I've read many of your experiences that you all have posted, and I see that we've all learned a lot. All I know is I want to be a better person and help more people. I hope you do too. My body is healing and getting a little stronger every day, so I'm going to fly back home and work on some community projects. Let me know what you're doing too. We can post your pics and videos on my website. My new job training won't start until after Christmas, and neither will my college education. So, I've read some of the comments that some people think that what happened when I was in the hospital was a big stunt or fake or something like that. I have to say, I think you're not being very logical. Do you think the hospital and doctors would all go along with making some fake thing for my publicity? Do you think Grandmaster Keno, known for honor and truth and integrity, would go to those lengths to fool everyone? I'm not trying to convince you. It doesn't bother me that you think what you think. It doesn't make a bit of difference to me. But Jesus said that those who have ears to hear will hear. And I hope those of you who doubt will open your hearts and minds to the possibility that God is real. Just to the possibility. I'm not mad at you. I love you all and will pray for God to wrap his arms around you and bring you happiness. Of course, I pray that because I know what kind of true happiness only God can bring. Well, I guess that's enough preaching for today. Hey, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons. Peace out. He put his phone away just as Taylor turned and smiled at him. Lord, she looked good. Those tight little shorts, those muscular thighs, her sweet smile, her big gray eyes. The girl was something else. He loved her. He wanted her. He hoped that they will still be together in a few years so that he can marry her. But he was also smart enough to know that things could change. He sighed. He watched as everyone worked on their serve. She had a tremendous vertical jump, which gave her an amazingly powerful serve. Yeah, he had to get in some of her games. He'd have to get to some of her games. But he'd already told his mom that he was going to go home for a little while. He had to figure it out. New scene. Taylor couldn't take her eyes off her boyfriend. She was happy and proud that he was hers. She was trying hard to concentrate on practice, but she had to glance over at him every once in a while. He was so hot. He wore jeans, and you could tell his thighs were thick and athletic. He had on a light blue knit shirt that matched his eyes. It also accentuated the muscles in his arms and chest. His thick, dark hair had a little wave to it. It was short on the sides, but a little longish on top, causing the bangs to fall over his forehead. Any girl would envy his long, dark lashes and his perfect mouth that was so good at kissing her. He had a gorgeous smile, and that dimple in his left cheek was stunning. She sighed and turned back just in time to dive for the ball, making a perfect dig. She heard Gabe clap and tell her it was a good job. She didn't dare look at him. All she wanted to do was be near him all the time, forever. She yearned for him, and she had no idea how she was going to make it until her 18th birthday, when she could make the decision to be with him. Not that she would go against her parents' wishes, but if they believed her to be mature enough, maybe they would agree with her. 1 more year. She drew a deep breath. She would make it. She would live in the moment as her parents and Gabe were always telling her to do. Once practice ended, the team went back to the locker room to gather their belongings, and as they straggled back out, some left, but some came over to chat with Gabe again. He was kind and amiable and joked around with them. They clicked off pics almost continuously. When one stopped, another started. He didn't mind anymore, and he was getting more and more comfortable with it. Taylor made her way over. He hugged her right there in front of everyone and then kissed her softly and quickly before the coaches saw, because if Brookside was anything like Pine Forest Public High School, PDAs were not allowed. A few of the girls made that funny "aw" sound, which made Gabe chuckle. "Well, it was nice to see y'all again," Gabe said. The girls giggled and Taylor smiled. Her guy was adorable. At first, Gabe didn't understand what was so funny. When he realized they were laughing at his southern accent, he'd said, "y'all." He looked at Taylor. "Are you ready, Tay?" She nodded. He took her bag in her hand and they headed out. "So you said the van that they put me in was parked right out here?" "Yes, and it took off that way." He pointed east to his right. "And I took off that way," he said as he pointed at a diagonal northeast. He went on to describe the whole incident. They even walked over to see if his bloodstains were still on the drive. They were. It made Taylor shudder, and they decided that was enough of that. They got in the car and headed out to grab some lunch at a local strip mall that featured gourmet hot dogs. Gabe stuffed down 3 to Taylor's 1. She was just wiping some mustard off his cheek when a guy and 2 girls came up to their table. "Hey, we're sorry to bother you, but you're Gabe Tanner, aren't you? And you're Taylor Keno, right?" Gabe and Taylor had to finish chewing and swallow. Finally, they smiled. "Yes," Gabe said with a nod. He had to keep himself from instinctively checking for the gun on his hip. He usually didn't do that, and it was a bad habit to get into. He guessed he was still a little jumpy. The girls giggled. "Can we have your autographs?" one of the girls asked, holding out a permanent marker. She handed the marker to Gabe. So what do you want me to sign?" She touched her pink shirt just above her breast. Taylor could have been insulted because of the obvious discourtesy, but she was used to the public and actually laughed. Gabe shook his head. "How about I'll sign the sleeve?" It wasn't stated as a question. He signed the sleeves of both girls, and then they asked Taylor to sign the other sleeve, and the boy shook Gabe's hand. "It's actually an honor to meet you both. At my church, we prayed for you and Grandmaster Keno. What happened was quite an experience for all the people who prayed for you, and I hope you realize what an amazing example you two are for kids everywhere." "Thanks, man. We've been blessed, and we just want to serve God in any way we can. And you make other people want to do the same. Would you two mind signing my hat and letting me get a selfie, and then we won't bother you anymore?" They did as requested, and the trio said their goodbyes and left them. "Sorry about that," Gabe said. "About what?" "The disrespect." Taylor smiled. "God is going to send us tests. When you're in the public eye, everything is a test. Not only is the world watching, but God is watching." "That's very wise of you, Tay." She giggled. "I can't take credit. Those are my father's words. And, by the way, you just passed that test with flying colors." Gabe grinned. "Whew, that was close." "What are you saying?" "Well, I almost did as she asked without thinking." "Liar." He laughed. "Come on, let's get back to the house. We still need to shower and go over to the family dinner at your grandparents'." "I wish we could get out of it and just spend the rest of the day and night cuddled up together on the sofa." "One day, we'll be able to do just that." "One day when?" "Don't be so pushy." "When?" He chuckled. "You know what day I'm talking about. But right now, let's focus on the present moment." New scene. It's September 7th, late Saturday afternoon. The Pac Coast Highway, Newport Coast, California. Jordan Brooks grunted as she tried with all of her strength to loosen one of the lug nuts on the wheel of her Honda Civic. She tried using her foot and jumping up on the lug wrench, but that only made it fall off the nut and caused her to tumble down onto the rocky pavement, skinning her knee and smashing her finger against the car. Ugh, she growled as she stood back up and kicked the tire. She looked up as a BMW pulled over onto the side of the road just in front of her car. She hoped it wasn't some sicko pervert and no one would ever hear from her again. She hoped it was a guy strong enough to loosen the lug nuts. He walked back to her rear driver's side tire where she was standing. She eyed him as he approached with a smile on his face. He certainly looked strong enough. Actually, he looked slightly familiar. Having a little trouble? He said calmly. He eyed her, quickly noting the tiny line of blood on her knee, the low-cut little black dress with thin, tiny straps at the shoulders and the 1-inch heels. Her blonde hair was up in a messy bun, and she stood still and ready as if she might need to spring away if necessary. She gave a slight smile as she twisted the lug wrench in her hands. Yes, I can't seem to loosen the lug nuts. He held his hand out. May I? She placed the wrench in his hand. Thank you. If you'll just loosen them, then I can do the rest. She watched him as he smiled as if she'd said something funny. He took off his sport coat and laid it over the back of her car. She couldn't help but notice that her assessment was pretty accurate. Without the jacket, she could see that his chest and arms were ripped with muscles. He bent down and with very little effort loosened all of the lug nuts. Thank you so much, she said. I really appreciate you stopping. It was very kind. I can take it from here. He smiled. I have no doubt. But would you consider letting me finish the job? Well, really, it's not necessary. I totally believe you. But I'm going to have to explain to my family why I'm late. And when I tell them that I stopped to loosen the lug nuts but didn't finish the job for you, they're going to give me a really hard time. She laughed. Well, we can't have that, huh? No, we really can't. He started jacking the car up the rest of the way. Well, you could just say that you did it for me, she offered. I could, but I never lie. Oh, well, that's refreshing. Where were you headed? She screwed her lips into a pout, and he could tell that she wasn't sure if she should tell a stranger where she was going. It's okay, you don't have to say. I was just curious because you're all dressed up. He lifted the spare tire and frowned. Instead, I'll tell you where I'm going. It's a family surprise birthday party. Oh, that sounds like fun. And here I am making you late. Well, the party doesn't start for a while. I was going to help set things up. And anyway, I didn't have to stop, so if I'm late, it's my own fault. But when I saw you try to jump on the wrench and fall down and then kick the car, I had to stop, if only to thank you for the laugh. She made a face. He sighed. But I'm afraid we have bigger problems. What problems? Your spare is flat. It is? She reached out and squeezed it, and it didn't give. It doesn't feel flat. Well, it is. I'll show you. He put the spare tire on the car and lowered the jack. It became quickly obvious that the tire was indeed flat. Oh, no, now what am I going to do? She mumbled. And my phone is dead because I let my roommate borrow my charger. She wrung her hands together and looked up at him. May I use your phone? Of course. He picked up his jacket and pulled the phone out of the inside breast pocket, unlocked the phone, and handed it to her. She took the phone and thought a minute and then shrugged and punched in some numbers. Mom? Hey, I need you to do me a favor. Give me Jackie's number. Well, I do have it, but I can't get to it because my phone died. I know, but I loaned my charger to Jackie. I'm running late because I'm on the side of the road with a flat tire. Yes, I know, Mom. Can you give me the number? She repeated the number aloud. Thanks, Mom. Love you too. No, I'm okay. No, if I have to, I'll call a tow truck, I guess. Yes, well, this guy stopped to help. No, he seems okay. She glanced up at him, and he gave her a slight smile. She went back to her conversation. I'm on the Pac Coast Highway just south of Newport Beach. No, you better let me call since I can tell them where I am. I will. I promise. Okay. Love you too. Oh, wait. Shoot. Too late. She sighed and rolled her eyes and glanced up at the guy who was smiling at her. I already forgot Jackie's number. I have to call her back. He rattled off the number, her eyes open wide. Wait, say it again, she said, as she punched in the numbers as he said them slowly. She turned away for a more private conversation. Jackie, hey, I'm broken down on the side of the road and it looks like I'm going to have to get a tow truck, so I don't think I'm going to make it. Maybe you can find someone else to take. Wow, you replaced me pretty fast. I mean, right now I'm only 15 minutes late. Okay, well, enjoy the show. Yep, bye. She handed the phone back to the guy, then remembered she hadn't called the tow truck yet. When she asked for it back, he waved her off. He was texting someone. When he finished texting, he looked up at her. I'll call the tow. I'll airdrop our location. Thank you, she frowned. I guess this was a doomed evening. He grinned. Let's salvage it. Why don't you join me at the family party? Well, no offense, but, well, I mean, I know I could be a serial killer, but I'm not. Let me introduce myself. I'm Eric Keno. She frowned. Keno? Any relation to the famous Kenos? Well, my father and mother are famous. Yeah, right. He grinned. No, really. My father is Ricky Keno. My mother is Brianna Adams. I sort of stay out of the limelight, but I swear I'm not lying. He handed her his phone. Here, Google me. She took his phone and looked up Eric Keno. It says here you're a grandmaster and Ricky Keno is your son. He laughed. That's my grandfather. Scroll down. You'll eventually see pics of me. She did, and her eyes got big. She held the phone up beside his face. Oh my gosh, that is you. He nodded. So now that we have that settled and you know I wouldn't hurt you, would you like to accompany me to the party? I'm not sure. I mean, why? You don't know me. No, but stopping to help you has made my day. Let me repay you by bringing you to my family party. Your original plans for the evening have obviously fallen through, right? She looked up at the guy and nodded. Now that she knew he wasn't a serial killer, she could relax enough to see that he was a total hottie. He actually looked a lot like his father, athletic, dark hair, dark eyes, wide, gorgeous smile. But he was in that world, the world of celebrities who were rich and privileged and got whatever they wanted. What do you expect from me? She asked. He grinned. There are no strings attached, and I promise to be a complete gentleman. Look, I understand that you're not comfortable going somewhere with a stranger, but you'll be even less comfortable waiting on the side of the road for a tow truck for what could be at least an hour, and then waiting at the service station for who knows how long. If you come with me, you'll be comfortable and fed, and I'm pretty sure entertained. She sighed. That's probably true. It suddenly dawned on him that she looked very young and might be underage, but he didn't feel like he should just come out and ask her age, so instead he asked her name. So if you don't mind me asking, what's your name? She held out her hand. I'm Jordan Brooks. It's nice to meet you. He took her hand in his. Very nice to meet you, Jordan. Cute name. Now then, are you coming with me or staying to wait for the tow truck? Well, don't we have to stay to wait for the tow truck either way? Nope, I'll put the keys in a locked box under the wheel well. The driver will come get your car, replace both tires, the flat and the spare, and then deliver your car to my parents' home, all washed and shined and ready for you when you leave the party. You're kidding. He laughed. Well, we know a few really good people. Look, I get that you're nervous about going somewhere with a stranger, but I'm now to the point that I really don't feel good about leaving you on the side of the road. And I don't want to be late for the party because it's for my mom and my sister, and they've been through a really hard time lately. Oh, your sister. Oh, that's right. Taylor, right? She's so adorable, and she's with Gabe Tanner. I follow them. He nodded with a smile. Me too. Will they be at the party? Yeah, it's for her. And yeah, Gabe is still in town. I would love to meet them. He chuckled. So, are you still in high school? No, I'm on a softball scholarship at UCLA. Oh, well, that's cool. So, are you in? Yes, I guess I am. Great. Grab what you need out of your car, lock it up, and hand me your keys. He got on the phone to call a tow and then went to his car, reached under the wheel well, pulled out the magnetized lock box, took her keys and put them in and placed the box inside the wheel well of her car. He then grabbed his jacket off the rear of her car and walked her to his car, opened the passenger door, and helped her in. When he got into the driver's side of the M4, he immediately opened the center console, pulled out a small first aid kit, rummaged through, and handed her a moist first aid wipe. Here you go. It's for your knee, he explained. She smiled. You really are very kind and considerate. Thank you. He looked her over and smiled. She had eyes like his mother's and his sister's, a soft gray, maybe a little lighter. She also had long, dark lashes, a little turned-up nose, an adorable mouth. He started the engine and pulled away. He touched a button on the dash. Call Joe, he said. What's up, Jojo said, answering quickly. You okay? Yeah, I stopped to help a girl on the side of the road, and before you say anything crazy, she's in the car with me. Jojo laughed. Good save. So where are you headed? You're supposed to be here helping with the decorations. Well, tell Grandma I'm on the way and that I'm bringing a guest. Will do. How far away are you? About 7 minutes. See you then. Yep. He turned to his guest. My brother goes to USC, Eric said as a conversation starter. You have a brother? Well, he's not really my brother. He's my cousin, but we're close, and we think of each other as brothers. His name is Jojo Adams. Oh, like Jojo the quarterback? He's your brother? Wow. You know him? No, but everyone knows who the SCQB is. Well, I mean anyone who loves football and lives in Cali. Wow, it's like your whole family is famous. Yeah, I guess they are. You sound like you don't like that. He frowned. Well, it makes it hard to find friends who just like you because you're you, instead of because they want to get in with famous people. I wouldn't have told you who I was at all if I could think of another way to convince you that I wasn't dangerous. She gave a soft laugh. Okay, then. I'm going to be honest with you. Meeting famous people is intriguing, so yeah, I think this is going to be very interesting, meeting you and your family. You know, see how that part of the world lives and interacts. But if I don't like you guys, I won't pretend that I do just because you're famous. Eric smiled. Deal? She nodded. Deal. So what position do you play on the softball team? I'm a pitcher. He nodded. Very cool. Thanks. I've played softball all my life, but I didn't get really serious about it until my junior year in high school. I had a few college recruiters approach me then, and so I realized it was my only chance to go to college if I could get a full ride as a pitcher. Other positions usually don't get a full ride, though sometimes they do. But anyway, I worked really hard. I trained really hard, and I made it. Impressive. He didn't ask her why it was her only chance to go to college, but figured it was a financial problem, which was personal. So what do you do? She asked. Well, up until this year, I was in school, working on the requirements to become an astronaut/physicist. But I switched directions for personal reasons and actually just finished shooting a movie. Really? What's it called? It's called The Resurrection of Elijah Beck, though that could change. It won't be out until the end of the year. Well, I'll keep an eye out for it. Thanks. So you were going to be a physicist astronaut. I mean, that means you're pretty smart. He laughed. Maybe. I have my good days. I'm guessing you're good with numbers, though, she said. Why do you think that? Because you remembered my friend's phone number after you heard me speak it one time. Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, numbers are kind of my thing. Very cool, she said as they pulled up to an iron gate. The man in a booth waved at Eric and the gate swung open. Jordan peered around. She was looking at a long driveway that curved around and led through a beautiful, lush, green lawn to a giant home. The drive split. They could go around a circle to the front door or take the right fork and head toward a garage. And they took the right fork, but they didn't go into the garage. Instead, he pulled up beside the garage. He opened her car door for her and started to help her out, but she asked him to hold on. I forgot that I put my hair up when I got out of my car to change the tire. She flipped the visor down in the car and was pleased to find a mirror there. She removed the band from her hair. Young Eric was mesmerized as golden blonde waves tumbled down around her face and over her shoulders. She used her fingers to comb through the shiny tresses, to smooth them and then fluff them, and she sighed. "How do I look?" she asked casually. He smiled. "Beautiful," he said softly. She blinked up at him, touched by the reverence in his voice. She smiled. "Okay, I guess I'm ready to meet your family." "Well, they're not all here yet. The guests of honor won't be here until 4, so we have about 30 minutes. She nodded. He took her hand and pulled her out of the car. They went in through the kitchen door and were immediately greeted by Shelley. "Well, hello there, young man," Shelley said as she gave Eric a hug. "Hey, Grandma. So, I'd like you to meet Jordan. Jordan Brooks, this is Shelley Keno, my grandmother." Jordan held her hand out, and Shelley shook it firmly. "Hello, Jordan. It's very nice to meet you. Welcome to our home." "Thank you, and thanks for letting me crash the party." "Oh, the more the merrier. My goodness, you are tall." "I'm about 5'9". "Jordan is an athlete," Eric said quickly. "She goes to UCLA on a softball scholarship." "Oh, what position?" Jordan smiled. "A pitcher. Left-handed pitcher, to be exact." Young Eric smiled. "Oh, that makes her a hot commodity." "I bet." They all looked up as 5 more blondes came into the kitchen. "Well, hey there," they all said, almost in unison. Jordan's eyes opened wide. Hi. Are you like quintuplets?" Young Eric laughed. "No, they are 2 sets of twins and then the oldest." "Which is me," Heather said as she moved forward and took Jordan's hand. "I'm Heather." "And I'm Violet, and this is my twin Rose," Violet said. Rose smiled and shook Jordan's hand. "Hey." Young Eric frowned, wondering what was wrong with Rose. "And I'm Daisy, and this is my twin Lily," Daisy said. Jordan smiled. "Do I detect a theme here?" The girls all giggled. "Yes, we're all flowers," Lily replied, "and it's nice to meet you. We just came in to ask Miss Shelley if there's anything else that needs to be done." "Nope," young Eric timed it perfectly. "Everything is done. I just need someone to track the birthday girls so we can all hide before they come in." "I'll do it," Violet said. "So you said Miss Shelley, is she not your grandmother?" It was Shelley who answered. "As much as I'd love to claim these girls for my own, no. These are the Anderson girls, though we claim their whole family is ours." Young Eric leaned close. "They're Gabe Tanner's sisters." "Oh," Jordan said, "but you said Anderson." "Same mother, different father. You're going to meet a lot of people tonight. It'll get a little confusing." Jordan grinned. "I guess I'll just nod my head and smile a lot." Eric laughed. "Perfect." "They're 8 miles away," Violet said. Jojo came into the kitchen. "Hey, Grandma. Granddad says if you have a preference where everyone is going to hide, you'd better tell them now." Shelley nodded. "Lily, will you run downstairs and tell Bella and Breeze to bring the children up? And Daisy, will you go tell Mark and Joey and Justin and Jason to come inside? They're on the deck out back." "Yes, ma'am," they both said. "Hello," Jojo said to Jordan, offering his hand. "I'm Jojo." "Joe, this is Jordan Brooks. She actually attends UCLA." Jojo smiled. "Really? Our enemies." "Yes," she giggled. "It's very nice to meet you. Isn't it game day for you?" He grinned. "Normally. Off week. Big game week next week, though. Jordan is at UCLA on a softball scholarship. She's a left-handed pitcher." Jojo nodded. "Hot commodity." Jordan laughed. "Same thing Eric said." "Yeah, we're like brothers, except different." 3 miles away, Violet said. "Okay, everyone, go find a place to hide. They're going to come in through the front door, so you can get behind sofas 1 and 2, or stay in the kitchen, or behind the dining room wall, or in the back hall. Go." Eric took Jordan's hand. "Come on, we'll take the back hall." He led her down toward his grandfather's study, leaned against the wall and slid down. She crouched next to him. "So, you said the birthday party is for your mother and sister?" "Yes. They had a birthday last week, 3 days apart, but no one even thought about it because we were all at the hospital praying for my grandfather and for Gabe to somehow pull through." "I heard about that." He nodded. "My mom and Taylor think that nobody even realizes that their birthdays have come and gone, so that's why this particular party is pretty special." She nodded. "They're coming up the drive," Violet called out. "And here we go," young Eric said softly. New scene. It's September 7th still. It's late afternoon, Saturday. Keno Estate, Crystal Cove, California. Ricky glanced in the rearview mirror. In the back seat, Gabe was sound asleep with his arm around Taylor as she snuggled close. Taylor's eyes were closed, but she wasn't asleep because Ricky could see her move her hand over Gabe's chest. He shook his head. His sweet daughter was head over heels in love, and he surely hoped this wasn't going to lead to a broken heart. Bree reached over and put her hand on Ricky's thigh. It'll all work out. He smiled at her. You're a smart lady, Ricky said. Yes, dear, I know, she quipped. He grinned at her. She may be smart, but he was pretty sure that she didn't know she was about to attend her own surprise birthday party. They drove through the gate and around the circle of the drive to the front door and stopped. He looked at the time. We're right on time. I wonder where everyone else is, he said. Gabe yawned and sat up, a smile on his face. Maybe we got the time wrong. No, I'm pretty sure Shelley said 4, Ricky replied. Let's go in and see our new siblings, Ricky said to Bree. She smiled. I get excited every time. They are so beautiful. I agree, Taylor said. Gabe opened his door and climbed out and went around the car to open Taylor's door, but she got out before he could get there, so he just held the door and closed it after her. Ricky grinned at him and he rolled his eyes. You sure you're awake now, Gabe? Yes, sir. Sorry I fell asleep. I'm thinking your body needs some rest. It's trying to tell you something. Yeah, I think you may be right. The 4 walked up to the front door and headed in. They got as far as the foyer when everyone jumped out. Surprise! Gabe watched Taylor. The smile that spread across her face was one of the most beautiful things he'd ever seen. At the same time, Bree turned to Ricky and he kissed her soundly. Happy birthday, baby, he said softly. Oh, it is so happy. So happy that we can have this party because Eric and Gabe are with us. Everyone moved forward to greet the birthday girls. Shelley and Eric with their 4 new children in tow, Mark and Bella holding M, Joey and Breeze with Fia, Kelbell, and Ledger, Keegan and Lizzie with Iris, Heather and Nolan, Rose and Violet, Lily and Daisy, Jeff and Mickey with their sons Daniel and Jeremy, Jason and Angel, Justin and Lori, Jeffy and Cam, Jensen and Kimmy, Jojo and Logan, and Lena Bug and Jake, and John and Jody, and finally, young Eric and Jordan. That is the end of chapter 2.